Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the PictureMonk podcast. This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com, and I haven't been here for a while, and I haven't released a podcast since last week. Oh, no, I didn't release one last week either. I haven't released a podcast last week because, as you may have known, if you listen to my other podcast, my son was in the NICU. I hate talking about personal stuff, but I feel like I got to give you guys an answer. But my son was in the NICU in Wilmington, North Carolina for the last 3 months since June 10th. And I believe last Friday we were able, which was September 25th, we were able to be released from the hospital, and now we are all the family is back home in Greensboro, North Carolina, where we reside. So we have been home for about a week, and there's been some very sleepless nights and some very tired me walking around here. I'm just very tired all the time. And so I haven't been able to do as much as I want to. And, you know, that I knew that would come with having a child. So I'm not really too worried about it. That's why I'm happy that you guys have been submitting questions and emailing me and everything like that. So that way it makes it just a little bit easier to come up with a podcast. And that's what this podcast is going to be. I got 5 more questions that I pulled from the bank of questions that I have still. So if you are sending questions, thank you for waiting for the answer for these. I know it could be a little bit of like you write somebody and you don't hear back. So I'm trying to get to them as fast as possible. And so for this podcast, I basically want to say that the personal thing, you know, my son is back home. We're all safe. Everybody is healthy so far. And me and my wife are just, you know, trying to be parents. We're trying to be parents for the first time. So thank you, everybody who sent out your prayers and thoughts and everything. It was very helpful. And continue to do that, and we would very much appreciate them. So that's a little personal update. Now let's get into the regular stuff. So I found 2 things real quick that just came by my Twitter feed that I wanted to point out in regards to kind of cool articles and cool news topics that came up. And 2 of them, or both of them, are actually on, space, the space topic. I'm sure you've heard that NASA released that there was running water on Mars or anything like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's like the big space topic for the past week. But this one actually found an article that I'll link to at PictureMonk.com/PMP034, and it has to do with how Adobe and NASA use Photoshop to color images from space. So, you know, the Hubble telescope will take a bunch of pictures. The Curiosity rover from Mars will take a bunch of pictures, and especially the Hubble. The Hubble it basically takes black and white photos. It uses the information that you see from the Hubble as, you know, it's combined with what different color gases are used and all this kind of cool stuff. And so they have a Photoshop expert whose name is Robert Hurt. And he is an astronomer and a Photoshop expert who basically processes all of these images and turns them into the really cool, colorful images that you see. And he actually details how he does it, and has a bunch of animated GIFs that show, you know, kind of the process and you know, kind of before and after sort of thing. So it's a really, really cool article. They even show one of the Sombrero Galaxy. I never even knew that was what it was called. But it shows how they took one image and took another image and stacked them on top of each other to create the final. And it's just a really, really cool article. They even have a video on there that you can look at. So again, I'll link to that at PictureMonk.com/PMP034. You can check that out there. Really, really cool article. I really enjoyed reading that, so I thought I'd pass it on to you guys. The next article that I found is actually from Petapixel. And I go to them all the time for cool articles because they just have all kinds of stuff out there. And this article is NASA. I think it was NASA or somebody associated with NASA released every shot taken by an astronomer, every photo taken by an astronomer during all the Apollo missions and stuff like that. So there's about 8,400 photos, high resolution scan photos that are now available to the public on Flickr. You can go to Flickr, you can download them, you can actually play with them, you can, you can paint them as your wallpaper. You can see all these photos, and it's not just the fantastic moon shots and Earth shots that you normally see. It's shots from the crew, shots from parts of the spaceship, like being depressurized and pushed out, and all kinds of stuff. It's just really, really good stuff. So I got to probably page 52 after looking at all the photos, and I can't go through all of these right now. But I saved the link. I'm gonna head back to them again later. And there's actually a couple that I want to download and I want to play with as far as editing goes. So again, I'll link to that as well. It's a really, really read the article. It's a small, short article, but you can then give you the link to check out the photos on Flickr, and they're really, really cool photos. Okay, and I know I labeled this podcast Space, Tech, and Questions. So I did the space part. Now time's for the tech part. The tech part is if you have a Mac and you haven't downloaded El Capitan, the update, the Mac OS 10 update. If you haven't downloaded that, you might want to give it a little bit of time. And the reason I say this, they might, by the time this podcast comes out, they might actually fix it. But I've been having a very very troubled time with Photoshop, and Lightroom's running okay as far as I can tell. But Photoshop is having a really hard time running on the new El Capitan update. And I hate saying El Capitan. I don't know why, but but it's having a really hard time running. It's very slow, very sluggish. Like I said, it seems about as normal. I have an older computer, so Lightroom was running a little bit slow for me anyway. But Photoshop is kind of limping along, so I'm hoping they correct that. I can't really afford a new computer right now, so I'm hoping they can get like a patch out for that or something. So this might be an isolated case. I don't know, but if you have like I have a laptop, I should have actually downloaded on my laptop first and played with it on there to test it out before I download it on my main machine. So, if you want to try to download it and just take the chance, go ahead. It's a really cool update. It has a lot of features, and this is again only for Apple fanboys like me. But if you want to test it out, go ahead. But if you don't, I would probably wait another week or so and just see if they release another update for it. But that was a tech part I really wanted to talk about, just because I was playing with Photoshop probably about 5 minutes before I recorded this, and I was having a little bit of trouble, so I wanted to go ahead and put that out in the podcast. So if you haven't already downloaded it, you might want to wait. All right, now let's get to these questions here. Some of these are really easy questions, pretty simple questions, and so they should fly by. I don't want to make this podcast too long. My wife is up there taking care of our son, so I want to kind of get back to him. But the first question comes from Thomas F. I don't know if that's his last name. He just said F. No period, no nothing, so I don't know. His question is, do you have any tricks for getting more exposure on social media? I think I recorded a podcast that talked a little bit about this. I'll look through it again, and if I can find it, I'll because I'm sure it was intermingled into a bunch of other questions. One trick that I have found, and it's been the most helpful so far, is the way you label your photos, or the way you the naming of your photos. So a lot of people, when they upload a photo to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, Flickr, whatever it is, the file name of the photo is usually like IMG underscore whatever. It's the it's the camera default. You don't bother naming your photos or changing the name of them. But what I've really seen help with is naming the photo in what the photo is context in. So let's say I have a picture of the beach, and I want to put it up on Flickr. So I'll instead of it being named IMG or DSC and then a number or whatever, I'll change the name to beach, and then I'll put a dash, and then I'll put maybe the location it was from. So just put like Outer Banks dash, and then just start labeling everything you can think of, like photography dash, ocean dash seascape dash whatever. And what this does is when you upload it to Flickr, Google will pull from that name. So if someone goes to a Google image search and they type in, ocean, if you keep naming your photos like that, then you'll have a greater chance of showing up at a Google image search. In regards to just social media, I don't really have any specific, like on Twitter, you need to do this. It's basically the same thing that everybody does. If you're uploading something on Instagram, hashtag the crap out of that thing so you can get a lot of search results, and maybe go to the front page of Instagram and see all the hashtags that are popular right now, and then try to find a photo that has that's in that context and hashtag it with that hashtag. It's simple stuff like that. So if you want to have a good Google ranking or a good Google search result for your photos, give that a shot and just rename them differently, because it really does help out. It makes your photos come up a lot higher in the rankings because they actually have a context behind them. So thank you, Thomas, for your question. And now number 2, we have, Will Simmons. I think that's it. Yeah, Will Simmons. I have these written on a stupid Post-it note, and they're really hard to read because my handwriting sucks. Let's see. How do you price your photo services? Well, I don't really have photo services. If I was going to price something as far as a service goes, it would be real estate stuff. But one thing I can help out on is like pricing prints. So if you sell a print, how would you price it? And I kind of have a formula, an algorithm for it. And so when I print something, I use Adorama pics for my for my who have them print my lab, I guess you would call it. I use Adorama pics because the prints are just amazing. They come out perfect. They match my computer calibration very well, and I think I actually have a question about that later on. But they match. The way they show up on my computer is the way they come out on print. Very happy with them, and so. As far as printing goes, I basically take the price that I have to pay to Adorama pics, and so I'll take that price and I'll double that, so at least I make double my money, and then I will calculate taxes. So I'll just estimate on taxes. So if it's like a 12 by 18 print or something like that, Adorama pics might charge me I don't know, $10. So I'll double it to 20, and then taxes I'll tack on, I'll round it up to like $5, so $25. And then any shipping, I'll tack that on. I'll try to calculate the shipping and estimate that, tack that on. And then I always add another $5 to everything. I don't know why I add another $5, but it kind of comes out. So I think the original reason I did that is for a buffer. So like if I calculated the shipping and it was $6, and I ended up sending it to somebody and it cost me $10, then I have that buffer of $5 and it doesn't eat into the double profit. So that's kind of what my pricing structure would be for prints or anything like that. As far as services go, I mean, you know what you're worth. If you're a wedding photographer, you know what you should charge. You know the time that you put into editing. You know the preparation time that you put in. You know the expenses that you have to meet and all that kind of stuff. So basically, use your best judgment. Don't underprice yourself, and don't price yourself to where only the prince of Zimbabwe or whatever can afford you. So yeah, just think about it, and make sure you're not underselling yourself. So thanks, Will, for the question. And number 3 is this one's a very, very old question, an old topic question: Mac versus PC, which is best for photography editing? And that one is from Amy T. And so Amy, that's really a really hard question to answer, because the operating system of the computer doesn't really edit the photos. What edits the photos are the programs that you're using. So Photoshop and Lightroom and anything else. HDR, not HDR, Photomatics. It does HDR. Those are what edit the photos. So and all those programs run on both Mac and PC. If I had to choose which one is best, just for photo editing, I would probably choose PC. And the reason I say that is because any PC is, number one, cheaper. So you can get a very large machine, a very powerful machine for a lot cheaper. And the programs, any third-party plugins or programs or whatever that would usually run on a PC, they're most likely developed first for a PC and then ported over to a Mac. Not everything, obviously. But I would say if you're going to do just photo editing and you really want to have a beefy machine, then get a PC and spend, like, maybe you'll get I bought my iMac for, I think it was $1,200. For $1,200 in the PC world, I can get a very, very good machine, and it would run a whole lot faster than my iMac. But I like Apple's little environment. I like the Mac environment. So I will do that. I will pay the $1,200 for a machine that will be a little slower and all that kind of stuff, just so I can be in that. And plus, my iMac is since 2010, so it's lasted a pretty good while. I don't know if that would help as far as a PC would go, but it's lasted a very long while, and it's still going. Like I said, still updated to the El Capitan update, and it's working fine so far, except for the Photoshop thing. But I'm sure they'll get that worked out. So I hope that helps, Amy. It's if you're just doing photo editing and you want a massive machine that's really powerful, get a PC. If you want to be like a hipster man or whatever, hipster boy, and then get a Mac. So, all right. Thank you, Amy, for the question. Now question number 4. I only got 5 questions here that I wanted to pull from. So, let's see. My photos look horrible. Can't read that. My photos look horrible when I upload them to Facebook. How do I correct this? And that's from Ray13. Apparently he didn't want to use his real name. So Ray13. Let's see. Well, your photos look horrible on Facebook. Just join the club. Everybody's photos look horrible on Facebook. I can go into Photoshop and I can export it out to, quality 12, quality 10, 300 PPI or DPI. I can do all of this stuff. And then I upload to Facebook and they just crunch the crap out of it and make it look horrible. I don't like it any better than you do, but there's really no way around it. It's what Facebook does to the photo. And there's really no way around it. I don't know what else to say. The only thing you could possibly do is maybe upload it to Dropbox and then upload the photo as like a URL, and it'll put the photo, an example of photo. And when somebody clicks on it, they can go to Dropbox. And Dropbox usually displays the full res photos, and it won't look bad. So that's the only thing I can think of. If anybody else listening to the podcast knows any other way around this, please let me know, because I'm also looking for a way around that too. So sorry I couldn't be much more help, Ray. But it's basically a thing for everybody. They do the same thing to video as well. If I put a video on Facebook, they crunch the crap out of it, and it's just a horrible looking video. So and it doesn't really sound that great either. So I've kind of stopped putting stuff on Facebook just because of that, because it downgrades everything, and I'm not a big fan of that. So let's go to number 5, and this is the last question for you guys. And it says, do you have any suggestions for gadgets to help with photo editing? And that is from Samuel H. Gadgets for photo editing. Not really. One thing that I've been using recently that I've actually had in a drawer forever is my Wacom tablet. I've been using that a lot for photo editing, and it kind of, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Wacom Bamboo tablet, or it's basically a tablet. It's just a tablet with a pen that you plug in as USB, and you can use your hand like you're writing with a pencil, and you can like draw stuff in Photoshop. But I mainly use it for retouching. So it can sense pressure for the pen. You can press harder to make the brush larger. You can kind of stroke the pen a little bit to where it'll be short, precise strokes, kind of like hairpin strokes. You can do it that way, and I've really enjoyed using that. You can quickly change the brush type, like if you have a regular feathered brush, you can quickly change it to like a harder brush, so you can have more hard edges. And so I've really enjoyed using that. I use that for, like I said, retouching. It really helps out when you want to do dodging and burning. That's where it really comes in handy for me. So if you kind of interested in that, that's the only gadget that I can really think of. I think somebody was asking about color calibrating. I think that was let's see, which question was that? I don't remember. But it was color calibrating. The only other gadget I can think of is one of those spider color calibrator things, but that's not really editing. So there's not really gadgets as far as editing goes that I can think of, but I definitely would pick up they're cheap. I mean, they have like this, I can't remember what it's called, Synergist. I don't know. That's probably like a medication or something. But they have one that you can draw on the screen, and it'll, kind of, you can see what you're drawing on, but this tablet is just a flat surface, and it will kind of draw, as you draw on the tablet, it'll move on the screen. It's simple. I picked up the cheaper one, and it works perfect. It works perfect for the needs that I need. I think it's about $60-$70, something like that. I don't know, somewhere around there. I'll put a link to it. Just go to picturemonk.com/tablet, and that'll redirect you to the one I bought on Amazon, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So who was that from? Samuel H. Thank you for the question, and I hope that helps. If you want to check that out, like I said, picturemonk.com/tablet, that will take you to the one on Amazon that I was talking about. So, all right, guys, thank you for popping in and listening. Sorry if I sound a little down. I'm just really tired. And I'll be back next week for another In a Snap segment next week as far as the podcast goes. Don't really have too much new going on PictureMonk.com. I might have a couple articles that I've been storing for later. I might pop those in there. And I do have a couple videos coming up. And let's see. I think that's about it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for dropping by, and I will talk to you guys in the next podcast.